immediately called for an ultrasound. I went the next day. The ultrasound tech came in and said, she was going to go ask the radiologist if he needed more imaging. And I was like, oh, crap. I definitely have breast cancer. So he came in, said I needed to go see a surgeon.
Welcome to the Big Fish Cares podcast. And here's your host, Benny Fisher.
Hey, we're back in the studio today. It's been a long time since we've been filming live in our studios in Pittsburgh. And I have a really special guest to kind of kick off this in-person podcast. It's Samantha Moatz from 412Thrive, the founder, the creator of it, the visionary of this amazing nonprofit who helps community individuals impacted by breast cancer. And they're called Thrivers, right, Samantha?
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show. I really appreciate your time today. I know Big Fish Contracting and Big Fish Cares is, you guys have had a special place in our heart with 412Thrive, and I'm glad to have you here today. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, your story, and then how that transposed and kind of like, creating this nonprofit.
Yeah, so I am a mother of two right now. I am 36 years old and married to my best friend. We met in college. My son is 5 and my daughter is 3. And I guess this whole journey started over 12 years ago. I found 2 lumps in my right breast when I was in grad school. I was 23 years old. At the time, I knew no one who had breast cancer, so I didn't know much about the disease except for that I definitely had it. As soon as I felt those lumps, my heart just sank in my stomach, and I knew it was definitely going to be a game changer, a life changer, and it was. Went to my PCP, who immediately called for an ultrasound. I went the next day. The ultrasound tech came in and said, she was going to go ask the radiologist if he needed more imaging. And I was like, oh, crap. I definitely have breast cancer. So he came in, said I needed to go see a surgeon. I did. The surgeon saved my life because since starting 412Thrive, I've learned that some doctors still are telling women that they're too young for breast cancer.
What does that mean? Wait, hold on a second. What does that mean? They're too young for breast cancer?
So statistically speaking, breast cancer happens to older women. More common. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. So that can be anywhere. 1 in about 2,000 women in their 20s will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So you can see that it's is a really big rare difference in, how often we are diagnosed, but it's not impossible. And I'm coming to find that it's actually more and more common. We've lost several Thrivers who were in their 30s, some in their 20s. One of my best friends, Erica, I have these tattoos on my arm, actually. Mm-hmm. These are all for Thrivers who have passed away.
Oh, wow.
Kristen was 40, Raylene was 31, Erica was diagnosed metastatic at 25 years old, and Tiga just passed away a little over a month ago. Erica, the reason hers are 2 different sizes is that's one of the symptoms of breast cancer, is having a breast that is significantly larger than the other. Erica was very small-chested, and she had very obvious signs of breast cancer, but she was a vegan and a yoga instructor and 25, and so she was like, this couldn't possibly be breast cancer, but it was. Wow. And then Raylene, she went to her gynecologist at 31 years old and said, I have this lump, and her gynecologist, who was a young woman herself, told her that she was too young, that it wasn't breast cancer, it was probably something about hormones, and to go home and call her if it got worse. But that was at the beginning of COVID, so getting a hold of doctors was near impossible. And Raylene ended up passing away of triple-negative breast cancer within the year.
Wow. What was your story like back then? Was it about 12, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
2010? Okay. Yeah. And that's right when I moved to Pittsburgh. And what like, what was that, like that initial feeling? Like, was it like you told that story pretty quick within a couple of minutes, but like, was there different steps of like having to do doctor's visits? Like, when did it really sink in? Like, when did someone officially, like, on the movies and TV, we always say like they go in the office, the doctor's at an office, his computer's here, right? And he's in, he's got his books behind him, right? This is like, that's the vision, right? That most of us have of like when you get the bad news, right? Or you're anxious and you could, it's like almost like announcing like a winner at the Grammys or something. It's like, like the suspense is killing you, right? Like,
we call it scan anxiety now.
What's it called?
Scan anxiety. When a cancer patient, because I say even though I'm in remission, once a cancer patient, always a cancer patient.
Okay.
I'll always have to go to the oncologist once a year at least. I'll always have to get scans regularly. Anytime anything is happening in my body, my oncologist is like, let's get that scanned, So it's, the story when I was diagnosed. So it's funny, I actually wanted to go into my doctor's. I was like, can I get a 2:00 or later appointment to come get these stitches out? It's like, so that I don't have to take like a day off of work. And they're like, sorry, man, we don't have that time. Like, you'll have to come in at 12. So I had to take like an early day and leave, and I was in the waiting room for so long that I could have for sure worked my full day and then gone. But I go in to get my stitches out, and they were general surgeons because St. Clair Hospital didn't even have a breast surgeon 12 years ago.
Were you married at the time?
No.
Okay. Did you even know your husband?
Yeah, I met my husband when I was 19. We were in college.
But were you guys dating?
So we were not dating at the time.
So who was your support system like going through this?
So my mom went with me to my appointments. Yeah. Dr. Bill Perry came in and he was sweating profusely.
How'd that make you feel?
I honestly had already known that it was breast cancer. Like, it was no news to me.
So he was sweating because of the news that he was having.
Because he had to confirm
it wasn't just because he was working hard and like.
No, he had to confirm and tell me. And as a general surgeon, I'm sure he works with a lot of older patients, and I'm sure he probably. No, I know because I actually called him 2 months ago and we had a long talk for the first time in like a decade. I know that I'm the only person he's ever diagnosed.
That's probably, and listen, it's hard for like, I know I'm a business person, I'm not a doctor, but even giving anybody type of bad news, right? Whenever you have to let someone go or fire someone, or in the doctor's case, right? Telling a family member like, hey, something bad's happening. And then especially, I can't imagine what it's like for someone as young as you, 23. Yeah. Even in your 30s, even in your 40s, right? Like, it's probably gets easier to tell like 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds,
because they're doing it more often.
Yeah. And they have more practice with it. Right. And that's they always say bedside manner. Like, how was this gentleman's bedside manner with you?
Amazing.
Was it?
Yeah, he was amazing. I could not have asked for a better turnout with, how I was diagnosed. And I literally was cancer-free before I was diagnosed. So what usually happens is if you find a lump, you'll go for a mammogram or an ultrasound. If you're not 40, it's usually an ultrasound. Or if you have dense breasts, that's a good word to know. A lot of women have dense breasts. They don't know it. And so your breast can be lumpy to begin with. So you have to get comfortable with your breasts and know you're normal.
How often do you recommend getting checked, like in your 20s?
So I recommend doing a self-breast exam once a month. We actually, 412Thrive on our social media, and we're about to start advertising with Steel City Billboards. They are donating their digital billboards so that we can promote our field on the first posts, which is a monthly reminder to do your self-breast exam. Because if you're under the age of 40, you don't qualify for a mammogram. Self-breast exam is really our only way of defense to find something.
And you guys teach people how to do that? Like, I'm sure it's not as easy as just feeling your boobs all day, right? Like,
so there are techniques, but I actually just was talking to a breast surgeon last night. We had a meeting because we are working on our own flyers that show how to do a self-breast exam and that show the signs to be aware of and go to your doctors. Like, if you see these signs, you need to call your doctor and make an appointment immediately. What was your question?
Well, we were just talking about, like, first of all, like how you were feeling when you got the news, right? Because like, I think, back to like when we're, watching TV and movies, right? We never think it could happen to us. Yeah. We're like, we hope it doesn't. And then like, cue the doctor coming in, you're sitting there, right? Yep. You're sweating, he's sweating, your mom's there next to you. Like, it's just a very anxious time in your life. And after they gave you the news and, did you already kind of like assume that you had it? Were you already thinking worst case scenario?
Yeah, I had already known. Like, it was just like, I have a very good gut feeling with what's happening in my own body. And so, yeah, I definitely knew that it was breast cancer, but he confirmed it, and immediately, I have 3 older sisters and 3 nieces. So there's a genetic mutation called the BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations.
Say that again?
BRCA1 and BRCA2.
Okay.
They're genetic mutations. There are a list of like over 20 mutations that you can possibly have that elevate your risk of getting lots of different cancers, but the BRCA genetic mutations are specific to breast cancer. And so they actually had someone in there that day who did a mouth swab, tested it, sent it off. And a couple weeks later, I found out that I did not have the BRCA mutation, which was great news because that means that my sisters and nieces are just at the regular 1 in 8 risk of getting breast cancer themselves. So yeah, I called all my sisters and told them the news. They definitely, I think, cried more than I did.
You were ready for it, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely cried. He just told me I had cancer, but I think I was just, like most cancer patients, you just have what's next. Like, okay, well, like, what's the next
Did he
step?
give you a process? Like, as he gave you the news, did he also come with like an action plan to make you feel a little bit better about like what's down the road?
He said,
and what were those expectations?
He said that I would absolutely need to do radiation. And a drug called tamoxifen, but that my oncologist, that I would be, obviously that was my next step, was to get an oncologist. So my oncologist would decide if I needed chemo or not. And so that was the next step, was to make an oncology appointment. And
you were young, right? Like, what were you doing? Did you have a career started?
I was working at Howe Elementary School in Mount Lebanon, in their kindergarten. Yeah. And so I worked with kids and parents, and none of them had any idea that I had breast cancer.
And you just kind of didn't tell anybody, or like?
I told my coworkers because they needed to know.
You missing a lot of work?
Radiation kicked my ass.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that was like, going through that, like, because I'm sure the school system was pretty like, good about giving you time off and doing all. That's one of the benefits of like working for like, the government, I would think, right? Like, it's like, they're going to be very compassionate about that. And so telling your coworkers, that you were missing some work, you probably just didn't want to see like you're the person that's always on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Or calling off. So you told them. Let's talk about first, like, what was their reaction to you? Because I'm sure like, you have a bunch of different age demographics of women that are working with you in the school system. There's other 20-year-olds, there's 30, 40, 50, 60. How did they react to the news?
I kept it like close to like just the immediate coworkers that I was working with, but everybody was really shocked, which continues to this day to be.
You don't hear about 20-year-olds having cancer. I mean, like, it's just like you hear about like kids having more cancer than 20-year-olds, right? It's like you're either a kid with like leukemia or something. You hear about those tough stories. Or like, you're not getting cancer until your 40s, right? And then I feel like that's like when everybody's like on high alert, men and women,
it's
right?
Like, that's something that some of my other like young cancer survivor friends we discuss, is like, it's such a hard time. Like, I was literally in grad school when I was diagnosed. So one of the things 412Thrive does is we just let the community know about the resources that are already out there, because Pittsburgh has some really amazing resources. Yeah. So for me, I actually dropped out of grad school because I had to work full time to keep my health insurance and battle breast cancer, and I couldn't do all of them at the same time. But Allegheny County actually provides free health insurance to women with breast and ovarian cancer. Nobody ever told me that. It's really good health insurance too. Like, the copays are a lot smaller than mine were.
We have some of the best hospitals in the world, right?
We do.
Like with UPMC, Allegheny Health Network.
Absolutely.
Is McGee, right? Doesn't McGee deal with a lot of that?
Yeah, we have so many wonderful doctors here in Pittsburgh. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm so
we're lucky for that.
We are absolutely so lucky to be here.
So the coworkers. Now, did you want people knowing? Did you tell people don't tell anybody? Like, what was that like?
No, I didn't. I don't think I minded. I think I'm definitely a lot more open with it now.
Yeah, like, you were scared.
Yeah, I see people on social media now, and it's amazing because they're so open, and it's like they're literally posting day to day, like, it's chemo day, here I am, and so like everybody knows like what you're going through, I guess. I can have this app. It's called Time Hop. I don't know if you know what that is, but
Yeah.
it like shows you what you posted on social media.
Yeah.
1, 2, all these years.
Yep.
And so I'd never posted on social media that I had breast cancer. I remember I made a post that said, "Oh man, boobs are supposed to be fun, not sad. Boobs are supposed to make you happy, not sad." And that was
It's a little cryptic.
Yeah,
Little-
that was it. That was my post.
I call that vague book.
Yeah,
like there's like a
absolutely.
little meaning. You knew the meaning, but everybody else is like, wow, I wonder what that means. And,
Yeah.
Huh.
And I think at that age also, I was 23 and like vanity comes in and like, I didn't want anybody to think that like I had not nice looking boobs.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
like not as open about sharing everything. So
Well, and back then with social media, it was just really getting started. Facebook was really just hitting the scene for the public. College people had it, but we didn't, it was like, oh, let's just only post the good stuff. Now, over the last 3 years, I feel like since COVID, really, people have been able to be more authentic, be more vulnerable, right? And especially getting around a cause like cancer, right? Like, you got to be pretty, like, just a bad person to like not be able to like support that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. I've seen so many women in my Facebook channels, like, just documenting their journey, right? And I think it's inspiring for other women that are going through it. As soon as somebody goes first, right, then other people can get behind them. Well, like, if Samantha did it, guess what? When I get it, I'm going to follow Samantha's footsteps. I'm going to start posting a little bit about it, or they have another friend, right? They'll start taking pictures, and it's almost like everyone's rooting for them and kind of championing.
that is what you just described is literally our private Facebook group page called Thrivers. We have we now support like 500 women in the southwestern PA area, but not all use Facebook, but we have like 450 women who do, and they're on this private page. And that is exactly what they do. Like, we'll post like, today's my last chemo, and so everybody's on there like so excited for this woman, like, let's go get drinks when you're feeling up to it, let's celebrate this milestone. Like, we celebrate every single milestone.
It's awesome.
We're also there for each other when we have unfortunate setbacks too. So it's just been a wonderful community.
So in that community, is it just for people that have had breast cancer, or could people like me get in there and support the community, or is it really just private for?
So this private one is for just our
Okay.
Thrivers. Yeah, you have to have either been diagnosed with breast cancer or be a previvor, which is a term that not a lot of people know about yet.
So tell me what a previvor is.
Yeah, so a previvor is someone who's been diagnosed with a genetic mutation that gives them a much higher elevated risk of getting breast cancer. So the BRCA mutations are just 2 of the mutations that elevate your risk. And so previvor is anybody who's been diagnosed with a genetic mutation but has not yet been diagnosed with breast cancer. These women's, the risk of getting breast cancer with a BRCA mutation is over 70%. Some women are in the 80% risk, and a lot of them have a prophylactic double mastectomy, which is having a double mastectomy before you have breast cancer to prevent yourself from getting breast cancer. Because with these genetic mutations, it's a very high risk of getting breast cancer. So that's something that's happening, and these women are not usually invited into other cancer support groups because they haven't been diagnosed. So I think that's like a big missing chapter that we can provide to them. They have oncologists. They are getting scans like we do. They have breast surgeons, and they're going through a lot of the same stuff. So I think they need the support just as much.
That's
as
such an
survivors.
interesting dynamic. The more that I think about that, I'm thinking like, wow, like, so you have one little cancer group, you have another cancer group, but like it's not really cancer yet, but we like think it might be, and like they're like really panicking and they might have to chop off both their boobs, which has got to be like, for a girl, it's got to be like
Absolutely.
one of the most.
Who
like,
else do you talk to about that? Like,
Yeah, and then
know?
you're on an island, right? And then you get in your own head, right? And then inner voice can be awful when you're probably going through something like that. And if you don't have anybody else that's ever been through that, it's like, how can anybody relate? And
That's exactly where I was when I decided to start this.
how long of a process was it from the time that you noticed something till the time that like you were like, and I am free, like I know you're never cancer free, but like you're always worried about it, but like to where you had like more confidence about it, and like, kind of your process was kind of over the bad part, to where you're able to live more of like a a normal life, I guess, if you will, if that makes sense.
Ugh,
Like,
man. I think I got like almost a whole year of normalcy. I ended up having a double mastectomy a little over a year after my original diagnosis.
Let's start with the time frame. What month and year was like when the first time you noticed something?
October 2010, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, baby.
Okay, and then when did you go? Like, and when was like the
Beginning
the
of
double
October, I went to
mastectomy?
my PCP, and then by October 28th is my remission date. That's the day. It's my cancerversary. I celebrate it bigger than I celebrate my birthday. That's the day my surgeon removed my tumors.
Is that 2011 then?
2010.
Oh, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you first found out at the beginning of October 2010.
I first went to my PCP, and she sent me for the ultrasound.
But was there anything before that kind of like made you wonder?
I mean, I definitely felt my lumps and was like, yeah.
Like when?
I actually don't really say this because it was a lot earlier than I should.
That's okay, but people need to hear. People need to hear this because like there's someone out there right now that's feeling that there's something like maybe not quite right. They should probably go get it checked out. So like,
I had a really slow growing cancer, thank goodness. I found it and I knew about it in June of 2010. But my grandfather was in the process of passing away from Alzheimer's, and so
you kind of blocked it out a little bit, and then did you instantly think, wow, this could be like there's something wrong here? This could be like, did you instantly think, wow, this is like not right, or did you instantly think it was like, well, this could be breast cancer?
I instantly knew that it wasn't right. Like my heart sank into my stomach, like, and it was a feeling that I've never felt before.
Did you tell anybody? Because your grandpa's dying, so you know, is it like, was this your mom's dad or your dad's dad?
My mom's dad.
And like going to your mom,
like,
you probably felt like, oh wow, I don't want to distract my mom,
exactly
right?
Why I didn't do anything or tell anybody. I told my best friend, who like actually I tried like making excuses for. I was like, oh man, I just can't afford like the $20 copay to go to the PCP right now. And she literally handed me a $20 bill and made me go. I was like,
she overcame that objection.
Like, I guess I have to go now.
Wow.
And so yeah, I actually naively and vainly, like I said, I was 23. I went to my PCP for acne medicine. That's why I made the appointment. I was like, so while I'm here, feel this. And she did. And she's like, yeah, Sam, you're gonna go get an ultrasound tomorrow. She's like, just be sure. I was like, okay, sounds good.
And when was that?
When?
Yeah, so June you felt it. October you actually took some bigger action. Was that the appointment?
That's the
so that was the appointment. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then by the end of October, what happened at the end of October?
So I went to the radiologist. He sent me to the surgeon. Surgeon said, hey, you're really young. Chances are it's not breast cancer. So here is what we can do.
Optimistic.
We can either biopsy it now with a needle like most people do. He's like, and then take it out if it is. He's like, or a lot of women your age just want to take it out no matter what. Let's get it out and then biopsy it. I was like, take it out and biopsy it after, because I knew.
When they take it out, like.
So it's called a lumpectomy. So
a lumpectomy. What is that for the?
He just literally.
Because a lot of us guys have no idea about any of this. So like.
So my 2 tumors were like a little bit above my nipple. It's like the most common place actually to get tumors is like right here. So he just cut like a little incision right there and took out my cancer. But
like your breast is still kind of intact. It's not like it's not. It's different than like just cutting it off, right?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Again, I very don't like have like a lot of like, you know, my great grandma died of breast cancer, I think, when she was in her 50s. But again, like that was back in the 50s, I think.
Yeah.
So
and
like
they pretty much did do that kind of.
Yeah, and that's really the only.
Yeah,
you know,
I can tell you all about it. In 2011, I think is when I decided to have my double mastectomy because I was supposed to be on a hormone blocker.
What month in 2011? What month did you decide to have it, and then what month did it actually happen? Because I'm trying to establish a timeline for people at home to realize the faster that you can like just admit like, hey, and like go in, be vulnerable, say, hey, check me out, to the faster you can take action. I'm assuming your chances of survival and like a longer life have to be better, right?
Early detection is the absolute key to surviving and beating breast cancer. The earlier you find it, the better. I was stage 1B.
So October you were considered stage 1B, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So stage 1B, and then you had the lumpectomy in the end of October. When did then you make the decision, hey, like a double mastectomy is what's right for me?
So after my lumpectomy, I had to do 36 rounds of radiation.
Ooh, how long is that? How often is that?
Every day, 5 days a week. You get the weekends off.
So what is that, 6 weeks?
Yeah, it was 6 weeks. I did it it was 3 months. I finished the first.
Did you always
week
go
of
by
March.
yourself? Did your mom always take you?
My mom came with me a couple times, like at the beginning, you get tattoos marked on you so they can line the radiation machine up. But it's literally like 2 minutes. So I made a friend. You go the same time every day, and my friend Larry was there. He was like 64-year-old guy.
Aww.
He had a tumor wrapped around his spine. He named Audrey after a little shop of horrors. So I made friends with Larry. Yeah, and you go in, they give you this like weird Velcro shirt so that they can unvelcro you without like letting everything else be exposed, and they line you up and zap you and you walk out.
And when they zap you, like, is it just light, or
There's
like
nothing.
just it's
There's
just
nothing.
like,
You don't
it's
see
just like
anything.
you don't see
you don't
anything.
feel anything.
It's like going to get an X-ray. It's like it's almost kind of like when the dentist
Exactly.
like puts the thing in there. And you're like, yep, cheese, done. Like
Done.
next, okay. So that was 6 weeks, right? And then, and when was that over? Do you remember what month
that was
over?
over at the beginning of March.
Okay, so the beginning of March, the radiation's over.
So during all that, I was on a drug called tamoxifen, which is a hormone blocker. It blocks the estrogen in your body.
And what's the point of that?
So my breast cancer, that's just it. That's another thing. There are 7, I think it's 7, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 different kinds of breast cancer. People don't know that.
I don't know
So all
that.
these breast cancers take different treatments. So like people are often like shocked and surprised that I have long hair. And I'm like, well, first of all, I had cancer 12 years ago. So even if I did do chemo, it would have, I'm pretty sure my hair could still be this long by now. I was like, but
So for all you people at home right now that are worried that you don't want to go find out about the cancer because you're going to lose your hair too, guess what? It grows back.
it does.
Does it always grow back? Or just
I will say with breast cancer, I haven't really experienced too many women who it's not grown back for. I don't
right?
think that I've ever...
Your hair will grow back, and you can always get a boob job if you want, right?
Well, no. We say it's not a boob job.
Okay, sorry. See, cut that. No, I'm not going to cut it because I didn't know that. But we'll probably get into that
Yeah,
later.
well, I'll tell you all about.
All right, let's get to that, but let's go. Okay, so the radiation happened, and then what was next? So the
Tamoxifen, yeah, it made me really sick to my stomach, which is an unusual side effect. My oncologist tried telling me that it wasn't the tamoxifen, so I'd stopped and started it 3 different times to prove to him. And I love him so much. And I'd tell him, I'd be
So wait, did you tell him that you were doing that on purpose, or did you just do it because you're stubborn?
No, he told me, he goes, let's stop and do radiation first and just get you through radiation, because I was having a really hard time with radiation. My skin was like completely burnt off, which is another thing that like people don't realize. Like even my sister, she goes, before like seeing you with breast cancer, I didn't realize that like people with breast cancer are actually burned. Like your skin is burnt off. Like mine was, not
Is that from the radiation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't even I had to call off for the last week because I couldn't put my arm down or wear a shirt or anything.
So it's like getting sunburnt, but like just, but way worse, right?
Way
like
worse.
again,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like the guests at home that are probably thinking.
Yeah, no,
I say I say the things that people think.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get into trouble. Hopefully this is a safe place.
You won't get in trouble with me because I'll tell you all. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I will tell you all the things about like what women in our community don't like to hear.
Well, because the more education that's out there, especially for other women out there that are very curious about this, I'm sure, and then obviously all the men that are supporting the women. And I mean, I heard that men can get breast cancer.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it's a lot rare, but like prostate cancer for us is like your breast cancer, right? Like it's like a thing. So after the tamoxifen, how long did that last until you did? I'm assuming the next step was the double mastectomy.
Yeah, so I did tamoxifen for a little over a year.
Oh, so then you went all the way to the next March of 2012.
Yeah, I think.
Because that would have been March of 2011.
I started tamoxifen as soon as I was diagnosed. So I want to say I started tamoxifen in November.
But after the radiation was done in March of 2011.
So in October, I think, is when I decided to.
So October of 2012.
2011.
Or 2011, I'm sorry.
I had to go get my first mammogram ever after being diagnosed with breast cancer. And they found 2 lumps in my right side, which was my cancer side, and 3 lumps in my left side.
And you had not felt, I'm sure you were feeling them,
Yeah,
trying to
I
feel
did
stuff,
not
and
feel
you still
anything.
couldn't feel it. So
Yeah.
that's another good thing for people at home to listen to is even though you may think you're versed in this because you've been through it for a year, even feeling it wasn't enough. Like you actually had to keep going and go to your appointments, right? To like make sure
absolutely.
that they could investigate.
Yeah, there are often times when women feel no lumps at all and end up with, later stages breast cancer. It's
All right.
just
So you're a
deep
full
down.
year into this and you
Yeah.
got your first mammogram, and then what happened then?
So they were like, okay, you need 5 biopsies. So I went in.
5. Why 5?
They had 5 lumps. They found 5
So
lumps.
they just
2
do
in
all
this
5 at
side and
once?
Yeah. So they put me in a room, and my best friend had come with me. And when they took the needles out and I saw them, I was like, holy crap. Because again, this is my first biopsy. I didn't have it the first time. They just went immediately straight to surgery. So they asked my best friend to leave, because I guess you can just like gasp or something, like if she would have like scared me because it's like a loud clicking noise, all this stuff. I had already planned on having the double mastectomy because I was stopping tamoxifen. So
When you say you planned that was it a choice by you? Did the doctor really recommend it?
I was full-heartedly like, this is going to be what I do to prevent myself from
What do the
ever getting
doctors
breast
say about
cancer
that?
again.
Did the doctors recommend it, or do they like
Oh yeah. So that's a whole nother thing.
another podcast?
There's like so much that goes into breast cancer and what the doctors say and do. And
Well, we
should or
appreciate you sharing
shouldn't.
some of this because I know that it's important for the people to understand that. But you had to you made the tough
Yeah,
choice kind of
I
on
made
your
the
own.
choice,
No one
yeah.
was forcing
Because,
you.
so
No
the
one was
tamoxifen
influencing.
is used for 5 to 10 years. You have to take it every day to prevent the cancer from coming back because it blocks estrogen in your body, which then in turn gives you a lot of side effects. Like women going through menopause will have brittle bones, joint pain, really bad hot flashes. But for me, I was getting sick to my stomach every morning. They told me to take it at night. Every morning I'd get sick to my stomach. My oncologist would tell me it wasn't the tamoxifen. I'd said, okay, but you show me the statistics of 23-year-olds taking tamoxifen and what the side effects are. He goes, well, there are none. I said, well, then I'll tell you what the side effects
I'll
are
be the first
of a
statistic.
23-year-old taking tamoxifen. And I'm telling you that it is crushing my stomach, and it did. And so I stopped it, but I knew that I wanted to do something to help my chances. So I had a nipple-sparing double mastectomy.
So is there a different kind of double mastectomy other than a nipple sparing one? There's
a radical mastectomy, which is just taking like as much skin off as possible and closing it up. There's a regular mastectomy, which is losing the nipple. Often if you have a genetic mutation like BRCA and you've already gotten breast cancer, your doctor is going to recommend that you remove your nipples because it's a small amount of tissue, but it is enough tissue where your breast cancer could come back. So 12 years ago, nipple-sparing mastectomies were fairly new. So yeah, I met with my breast surgeon at McGee and plastic surgeon and had a nipple-sparing double mastectomy in December of 2011 and straight to implants under my muscles.
it's at the same time. So they just they cut it
They
cut it
take
off and then
they don't cut it up, so they do an incision like under your breasts, and literally the PA told me she was like holding my breast flaps up as the surgeon removes all of the breast tissue.
Are they going in underneath and just pulling everything out? Is that what's happening?
I
Again,
mean,
I'm very ignorant about all this.
That's just it. We have a grant that we're working on for like some educational stuff, and next year we're gonna ask for a bigger one because I want to do graphic videos for our website of what a mastectomy is. But that's so expensive. Doing videos like that, so expensive.
Well, why? Because
it's a graphic designer literally drawing out the whole surgery and showing it step by step. And that is a lot of work.
We can't just do a video of a human that's willing to let us video them.
I mean, we would have to
if there's someone willing, right? If you could find someone willing, we could hire a video team that as long as everybody checks their boxes and says it's okay, right? To be able to show that. I'm sure there's got to be videos on YouTube by now.
Oh yeah, there's tons of videos.
Can you just borrow those and then insert those in your website?
If we could, yeah, but I'd like to do it it's
more animated, with the 3D.
It's really
design.
grotesque.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie.
Again, I don't even want to have. I don't want anybody googling it right now because you guys are probably going to go do that.
My plastic surgeon. I ended up. Long story short, I've had 16 surgeries due to breast cancer and infection, and one was a double latissimus dorsi flap reconstruction, where they take your muscle in your skin from your back and tunnel it through your armpits and sew it here to create pockets for implants, and they use your back skin to make breasts. That is what happened because I ended up with massive infections.
So let's get back to this double mastectomy. So they go in, they remove your breast, and at the same time, they also give you what's the right
implants.
So they just call it implants. I'm not supposed to say boob job.
No.
So I just call it like, is it an augmentation? Is that a better word?
No, that's a boob job. So,
okay, sorry.
So we actually, my one friend Mel Penn, she designs some stickers that we put in our care packages, and it says, "It's not a boob job, and it sure wasn't free," because insurance covers our reconstruction. So people often say, well, at least you get a free boob job. And let me tell you, it is not a boob job. Like these breasts.
So what's the proper term?
Reconstruction.
So reconstruction. Mm-hmm. Now, do they, and when you go to do the reconstruction, does everything, like, after you get done with it all, like, does everything look normal again? Or, like, is there, okay. So it's not like, I'm very in the dark.
It looked very good, like, at first.
Better
like,
than not having anything there, right? Because there's probably a lot of women out there back in the old days that didn't even have that choice, right?
I mean, people still choose to go flat, and that's, like, a whole nother discussion.
With, like, just scar? Is it just kind of like scars?
So, yeah, they can, so you can be, it's called an aesthetic flat closure. And a lot of plastic surgeons need to be offering it more. And needs to be the first, when you go to a plastic surgeon about reconstruction, they need to give you all of the options that are available. And they tend to only give you the ones that they're good at.
I mean, I guess
they should give you all of the options
and then you can
tell you what
provider
the best options for you are, because you're not going to be, not every reconstruction, I could never have the deep flap surgery done, the tram flap surgeries, because that's when they move your stomach up, make it, and I don't have enough stomach tissue.
You don't have enough stomach.
So
you're a little girl. Yeah.
So there's just obviously certain things that I wouldn't need fully discussed, but a lot of women say that they would have chosen to go flat had they known that was even an option. But some doctors actually push reconstruction
because they do what they're good at. Because they're
even breast surgeons.
Are they afraid to lose the business, or are they just afraid to like talk about things they don't know about?
They're afraid to lose the business, I think. So they'll try to just, tell you that.
So just ask a lot of questions. So ask a lot of questions, right?
And you don't know what questions to ask, though.
Until you get in the community.
Exactly.
Wow. All right. So let's keep this moving. So after the reconstruction, was that it? Are you like, now you're just going for checkups the rest of your life to like?
Yeah. So for my 1 year checkup, I went and I was having, like I said, when you first look at them, they looked great because they're swollen and, fluid and all that stuff. And then they settle and they drop a little. And then I had radiation. So when you have radiation, it gives you the forever young boob. We say this one will forever be this high because radiation has literally shrunk it. And
so they're kind of like off, like
here,
they're not
another
symmetry.
One,
Gotcha.
exactly.
They're not symmetrical. How does that make you feel as a woman in America? Because I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women and their.
If I'm being honest, like nobody's boobs are.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're not even natural ones.
Yeah.
So like obviously I could like tell, but so after a year they had like settled and the implants started to ripple. So when you have a breast augmentation, they're putting implants in under your already breast tissue, so you can't see anything. With a mastectomy, they're taking all your fat out, and so you put an implant in, and it's just pretty much skin on top of implant. They did put mine under the muscle, under my pec muscle, which helps make them look a little bit more natural. They start to ripple, and you can see that in your skin, and so you can like tell.
Is it the same kind of doctor that does the cosmetic ones, or are they different kind of doctors?
No,
so like the one doctor that does it for the girl that wants to be on a bikini swimsuit issue is also the same doctor that can do it for a cancer survivor to make it go back to the. But it's probably a little bit of a different surgery. Oh, yeah. Okay, and so after that, then it was just kind of like what, regular checkups for you, and
so I went in, and because of the rippling, we had decided to do a revision surgery, which is another thing.
Tune-up.
Yeah, it's just very common in reconstruction, and that's another
You wanted
thing
it, or the doctor said you should have it?
We both. I wanted it, and he was like, "Yeah, this is an easy fix." Like,
did insurance pay for that, or was that out of pocket?
No, insurance has to cover as of now. Knock on wood, because they've been trying to change some things, but yeah, insurance covers reconstruction after breast cancer, and for previvors as well.
So that was so basically it was about a 1.5 year journey for you, really, from like June of 2010, when you really were like kind of a little bit in denial, a little bit trying to avoid October came around, you finally took some action, and then a whole nother year until
So that was my year of, I remember going to see my breast surgeon and showing him, like, I had my mastectomy and reconstruction, and be like, look how nice they look. I was like, I'm not on any medication. I'm not even on antidepressants right now. It's like, it feels wonderful. And then I went in for my revision surgery. I was actually having pain in my left side. I could feel like the weight of the implant, which you shouldn't be able to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried explaining that to my plastic surgeon, and I was actually put on some weight gaining medicine by my oncologist to
so you were even thinner than you are now.
I was so small,
I mean,
yeah.
you're like,
So
yeah, I mean, you're very tiny.
They gained weight. I gained weight to do fat grafting, which is when they take fat from one part of your body.
Can guys like me donate fat?
No, that's the first question my mom and everybody's family member
I'm just trying to help.
That's the first question. I wish, man. Yeah, skin, fat, I'll take it all. But so yeah, I told him, like, this needed fixed. There was something that I could feel, and then do the fat grafting. So that's what I woke up and
fat grafting. Cody, I learn about something every day, just so you know. Fat grafting, like, that is interesting to me.
it is painful.
Well, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So you're still like 25,
Yep.
like you're still young.
25 at this point.
And had you met have you like connected with your husband by then?
Mark and I started dating 6 months before I had my double mastectomy.
Okay. So he kind of was on that journey with you a little bit. Okay.
Absolutely.
And how was he? Was he a rock star, or was he scared?
Amazing.
I know he might be that now, but men change over 10 years. So
was and is the best person I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
He was in law school at Duquesne Law at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so I would be in the hospital for weeks at a time, and he would go to class, come to McGee, eat dinner there with me, do his homework there with me, sleep on the couch there.
That's
with
awesome.
Me, go back.
You guys did it together. Mm-hmm. That's so sweet. When did this whole idea to start 412 Thrive start? Like, when was 412 founded? Like, when did you file the paperwork?
Oh, so filed the paperwork less than 3 years ago, September of 2020.
Okay, so even after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you do between, 2011, 2020? You got married, you had some kids.
So that's where all the trauma comes from, and that's why I started 412 Thrive.
Okay, so give us the quick story about that.
Massive infections with my reconstruction. That surgery that I was just talking about. He ended up not operating on my left side, the side that I was complaining about. And I went home and I ended up with massive infections on my left side. He actually sent me a nice letter home saying he wouldn't discuss my left breast with me because he thought that I was just pissed about the cosmetic outcome of it, but it was actually painful. So the day after my 26th birthday, I had gotten a appointment with a female plastic surgeon to see if she would help me out, but he was her boss, so she pretty much was going to send me home, and I just looked at her and I said, hey, you either send me to the ER or you send me to Western Psych because I'm in so much pain. I'm going to jump off the Liberty Bridge with a waterproof note that says this doctor's fault. I was like, so your move. And so she sent me to McGee ER, and they looked at me and said, that's coming out tonight. It's going to fall out through your skin and you're going to die.
What are the women that don't have the same personality that you do? Because you have a very direct and authentic personality that you can get what you want. But there's a lot of women out there that are scared and shy.
This is because of what I've been through that I am like this. This is the trauma that I was put in.
But you said that to that person though. So there's still a lot of women. I had already
been through so much.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of women that don't that I would feel like we keep it inside.
And you need to advocate for yourself, and that is what 412 Thrive is all about. I will go to appointments with you. If there's a doctor who's telling women that they're too young for breast cancer, please tell me who they are, because I will go make an appointment with them and make sure that they never say that ever again. Because it's literally killing women, these doctors.
You rock. All right, so I have a lot of questions for you. We only have about 15 minutes left, but here's the thing. So let's talk to how old are your kids?
Rosalind is 3 and Atticus is 5.
All right, so the 5-year-old, this is because that was her first baby. So when you found out you were pregnant, did you and your husband talk about, was there any worries about trying to have children because of the rate? I don't know, before you even planned on having kids, or did you plan on having kids?
Yeah, so that's actually how my ex and I broke up. My oncologist asked me to bring my ex in to talk about our future with babies. And like a week later, he broke up with me. But it was great because
so there is a thing about that.
Yeah.
So that's
so like literally 2 months later, Mark and I started dating again.
Okay.
We dated in college, and then we.
So
met.
what was the prognosis like as a young 20-something-year-old about like, you know, the future of babies? Like, did your doctors say like yes, no?
So
Like,
it's crazy because 12 years ago, I feel like such an old person when I talk with
I know, you're
thrivers
younger
of like
than- you're younger than
nowadays
me.
because like the technology, like medical stuff has changed so much. 12 years ago, I made my appointment with the first oncologist available. He was terrible. He looked at me and told me I would never have babies. If I did, I would get breast cancer again. And that was it. And I literally flipped him off, told him he was no longer my oncologist and that I would wait the extra 2 weeks for the next available oncologist. And then now I know why he was first available. He is miserable. But the next oncologist said, Sam, you're going to go on to have a family. And he's like, I can't wait to be here. When I was 23, I think he was 34. He's
young doctor.
very young.
Yeah.
He's still there. He's my oncologist. Love him. Won't ever
optimistic.
go anywhere else.
Love
Yeah.
it.
He
What's
said,
his
I can't. Dr. Vincent Reyes.
Dr. Vincent Reyes.
And just don't get your hopes up, people. He's never accepting new patients because everybody always wants to see him because he's the best. My grandma ended up being diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer years later, and I drive out to Irwin to get her to bring her to Pittsburgh to see him because that's how much confidence I have in him.
What hospital is he with?
He works for St. Clair. He's
Okay.
at the Hillman
Okay.
Center at
Cool.
St. Clair. Yeah.
So when you got pregnant, everything like anything like, did you have to do anything extra? Did
So
you have
that's
to,
just
like,
it. Dr. Reyes did tell me, he said, I'm going to watch you have a family, but you have to do it on your own. Back then, when you had estrogen positive breast cancer, there was no preserving fertility. There was no doing IVF because it's putting estrogen into your body to produce those hormones, which causes your cancer. But now women are allowed to do all that. So they've done more studies. Actually, when I was pregnant with Atticus, he was born in 2017. That's the year that research started coming out saying that getting pregnant after hormone-positive breast cancer won't increase your risk of a reoccurrence, which is what most people were scared of. It's recommended to wait a certain amount of years after your diagnosis, but that's usually because of the hormone therapy that you need to be on. I got pregnant completely on my own.
And there's no worry about the child, right? Like, you know, from like any side effects or anything like that. Like, there's no extra risk for the child, right? Just normal risk, just like anything else.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's fast forward. You know, COVID happens. You know, you said you started 413, you started filing the paperwork maybe in 2020, September 2020. Why did you decide to like do such a big thing, like start a nonprofit like this?
I was pregnant with Rosalind when I had I think it was like my 9th infection in my left breast. And that was a time when my husband was working and my mom was taking care of my first son. So I was there pretty much by myself the whole time. And I got a little bit depressed, as you can imagine. And I literally just started finding people on social media. I started an Instagram account called Milkless Mama.
Milkless Mama.
To document my experience of having babies after breast cancer. Have met so many women who told me they found my account. And
do you still use that account?
Mm-hmm. And that they
Milkless
found my
Mama.
account and that they were so excited to see somebody like them who had breast cancer, hormone positive, and went on to have babies. So I was in the hospital with another infection, and I was like, I got to do something. So I found women on social media and had my baby, dealt with, all the new mom stuff. And when Rosalind was 3 months old in March, I think it was March 7th of 2020, I invited 10 women over to my house for wine and a charcuterie night. And they were all breast cancer survivors. And we made a connection that is everlasting. I'm still friends with all 10 of those women. And they said, we need to do this all the time. I said, oh yeah, I can absolutely host 10 women over my house once a month. No problem.
Yeah.
We didn't have a name. We just said we were each other's breast friends, and
breast friends. I caught that.
Yeah.
Breast friends. Cody, did you hear that? Yeah. Breast friends. That was cool.
Exactly.
You got all these words and stuff like that. We gotta
there's a whole dictionary.
We gotta put the Samantha dictionary on the website somewhere.
Thriver dictionary. We should get that. Yeah. But yeah, so we grew literally the next week.
Yeah,
the whole country, the whole world shut down.
Some people have pampered chef parties. You're having breast cancer get-togethers,
exactly.
right?
And it was just so what we had all been needing for
community.
So long.
Everybody needs
I was a 9-year survivor, and I had never been in a room with that many women who had breast cancer before in my life, unless it was at a hospital.
Was that empowering?
It was amazing. So I was like, okay, we're going to do this. The whole country shut down the next week from COVID. I opened a Zoom account. I started a Facebook page. We still didn't have a name. That came organically through a conversation with our vice president, Kara, in her kitchen. We talked about the word thriver because often it's used for metastatic women. Metastatic is stage 4. It's the only breast cancer that kills. A lot of the time they're called stage 4 thrivers. And so I wanted to check with her, say, is it okay to use thrivers as a term for all breast cancer patients, including previvors? And she said, absolutely, because we should be doing more than surviving. We should be thriving.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And I'm a Yinzer, so 412Thrive. 412 was obviously going to be a part of it. And 412Thrive was born. I was on vacation in September of 2020. That's the last vacation I've taken because
when was it?
September of 2020.
Wow.
I filled out the IRS paperwork while my kids were napping at the
Doesn't
beach.
it take like a year to get all that paperwork back too? I heard starting a nonprofit because Big Fish Cares always wanted to start a nonprofit, but I know like just from being a businessman myself, like that's a whole nother like business, right?
Absolutely.
And like it takes a lot of effort. And I want to briefly touch on that because you know the work that you're doing, and I want to just quickly kind of tell everybody like my story about how you're even here. My business partner Rob Tokay, my integrator, you know I've been friends with him for 7-8 years, and his wife Jessica. I remember when she was battling her breast cancer, and I watched them kind of go through it from afar, and it was really just you know, she was young too, right? You know, not quite as young as you, obviously, but young. I mean, she was like in her late 30s, I think, early 40, yeah, maybe 40. And that was like really the first time that I like knew somebody kind of like close to me, right? Like I'd like hung out at their house, like I'd spent time with them, and I watched her, you know, kind of go through that. And, you know, and she's a part of 412Thrive, and she's got an amazing story in and of herself. So you guys are building this community, right? You know, block by block, person at a time. So tell us a little bit about what you do at 412Thrive. How can people help, and what's the vision for 412Thrive?
Yeah. So we provide a plethora of services, and everything is 100% free. I'm really adamant about that because being diagnosed at 23 when I was in grad school, you can imagine that finances were not
overflowing. You couldn't pay the $20 copay. I remember you saying that.
I couldn't pay a $20 copay. So obviously, like, there were some breast cancer events that would happen around the city, but they'd all have like a fee, like you'd have to buy a ticket or pay for dinner or something. So like I didn't have that luxury. So I wanted to make sure that I provided a space for everyone, that you, no matter what you have, you are able to come and get the support that you need. So that's what we do. Everything we do is free. We do care packages for mastectomies, reconstruction, chemo, radiation. I've delivered in-care hospital care packages to every single hospital in this city. We give gas cards, grocery gift cards. We provide cleaning for women who are in treatment because you're not going from chemo to come home and scrub your toilets. It's just not going to happen. But somebody has to do that. And your spouse or your partner or whoever you have helping you is already picking up so much other stuff that we feel like we should help out and get them a cleaning person to come in once in a while, you know, or send dinner because you're not coming home from a mastectomy and cooking for your family. We provide a wellness retreat that last year was our first one, and 75 women got to come for a weekend of wellness, and it was completely free.
Where'd you guys go?
We went to Camp Lutherland. This year we're going to be at Camp Souls, which
is that local?
Camp Souls is by Seven Springs. By Seven Springs. Yep.
Right.
So we're keeping it.
The best part about a Western PA,
Yeah. So that everybody can like just drive to it and make it. But it's free because again, there's.
And how do you guys pay for that? Like who pays for that? Somebody pays for it.
I work my butt off, and I say sometimes I feel like I'm begging on the corner for money. But yeah, I ask any and everyone for donations. I will somehow
do the people like maybe like you work with other businesses or vendors that kind of like help like donate services.
So last year it was actually UPMC who sponsored our retreat. We are working with them. They have a doctor there is making a new app called biobanking app. It's crazy cool. It's you get to literally follow your tissue samples. So if somebody takes your tumor out, it's a tissue sample, it goes, you don't ever hear from it again. This is going to show you exactly where it is, what researcher is working on it, what hospital.
Kind of like on Uber when you watch the driver pick up your food. And like, well, and here's the thing. We got so used to that with Amazon and Uber. It's like everybody wants to know every step of the way.
So there's so much technology, and this is like, researchers have no way of getting back to us. So they've found that this cancer has a BRCA mutation, but now they can't get in touch with the person to tell them that they have the BRCA mutation, because once you give that sample, your identity is taken away from
Right.
it. So
Yeah, you're just a
now
number.
we're re-identifying and putting them in this biobank so that we can follow them, and our children will, if you know.
So it's kind of, you're gonna have like a history, like the almost like people are gonna be able to like one day into the future, and I I'm big into blockchain technology.
That's
and,
exactly what it
and
is.
like like I can already see where this is. I could do a whole other podcast on
You
that.
should have
right?
Dr. Gross on to do a podcast about her blockchain technology.
Are you kidding me? I will.
You would love her.
I'm
Oh,
actually
you would
going
love
to
her.
NFTs, blockchain,
Yes.
crypto. I'm into all that stuff, and I know the future is coming. And with all the smart people out there, all the people that are doing the work like you're doing, what's the one thing, starting a nonprofit, what's it like to try to be a business person now? Because that's really what you are. You're no different than me. Mm-hmm. You have a vision for something bigger and better and something bigger of yourself, right? You're turning your pain into your purpose. Mm-hmm. It's, for me, we're helping the homeowners of Pittsburgh, with their roofing, siding, and gutters needs. Not that big a deal when it comes down to it.
Hey,
I know we're protecting their house, what matters most, right? But at the end of the day, though, you're doing the same thing on a different level, because you're helping this community, especially of women and their support staff, the support people around them, which is a lot of their men, their kids, their parents, right? And this is such like a big undertaking. Like that's a big undertaking. So like, what's the best way that someone listening can help?
So we definitely need lots of volunteers, donations, sponsorships. We are looking for sponsors for our retreat this year. It's going to be September 28th to October 1st at Camp Souls. So we are looking for sponsors for that right now. We are trying to host 100 women this year.
Give us the ballpark on 100 women on out there. What's that going to cost?
About $35,000.
Wow. And actually, I don't even think that's that bad. That's only $350 a person. That sounds like a pretty inexpensive weekend.
I'm really
how do you do that?
I am really good at making the pennies stretch when it comes to this organization. Last year we last minute found the funding for the retreat. I actually thought we were going to have to cancel and postpone it to this year because it just wasn't working out. I was trying everything, and finally we met Dr. Gross, and things just matched perfectly, and we've been working with them. But you just have to be super passionate about what you do, and I love what I do.
I think that, I got my little Andrew McCutcheon bobblehead here, because again, I'm from Ohio. So when I moved to Pittsburgh, I wasn't the biggest Pittsburgh fan because I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and, I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, but I really did fall in love with the Pirates. And I came here in 2010, kind of right at the same time that you were going through this. And, that's when the Pirates started to take off, 2011, 12, 13, right? And McCutcheon's back. I know we were talking a little bit before the show of, like some of these people who have a lot of influence, right? Some of just even when they say something, right? People listen, right?
Exactly.
So if anybody knows anybody out there that's connected, right, to the Pittsburgh sports community, to these doctors, these amazing doctors, to anybody that wants to help out, right? Men, women, business people, even if you're a stay-at-home mom and you want to volunteer, right? There's so many different ways that you can get connected. Absolutely. What's the best way if somebody just wants to ask you, to go to the website?
Yeah, you can go to the website. You can send me an email, 412Thrive at 412thrive.org, which is on the website. I think we have send an email.
And we'll put it in the links of the show notes and everything like that. So you got that retreat coming up. What are some other things that you do throughout the year? You just had a gala, right? That my team went to.
Yeah, we just had our first ever 412Thrive Casino Night.
Casino Night, okay.
Yes, to raise money for all of the wonderful services that we provide. And I think it went really great. I'm excited to watch it grow. We had over 300 people come for our first year. So I think next year is just going to be bigger and better, raising more money for our local thrivers. And
tell me about this other idea that we were talking about the show, because you said you source a lot of materials and things to help women kind of, transition from the hospital to home, right?
So you don't really know what you need when you're going through these treatments or surgeries until it's kind of too late. So having had 16 surgeries myself, I know what it takes to recover from these surgeries. So we've put together a very extensive care package list, and it's on our website. You can go click on the links to find where we buy them from. It's no secret what's in them. We want everyone to know what can help these women slightly easier during recovery. It's still a rough road, but the 1 4-piece wedge that we put in our care system is, over $100 a piece. So our mastectomy care packages are over $400 because of all the things that we put in them. But it is absolutely everything you need to recover from a mastectomy.
But you have a dream, and you were telling me, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
Yeah.
It's like you would love to be able to figure out how to either source your own materials and get this stuff like branded 412Thrive, so that way you could send these kits out, not to only the people of Pittsburgh and the women, through your organization, but there are cancer support groups and nonprofits all over the country that are now coming to you because they've heard about these, like, what are they called again?
Care packages.
Care packages, right? Big Fish Cares, right? I feel like this is the universe is coming together, but like there's these care packages that they're looking for, and some of these nonprofits been around a little bit longer, they're better funded, they would probably even pay for your care packages if, again, you're only one person, right? You need a leadership team around you. I'm sure you have a great board, but like you need more people. You need more business people to get involved. You need more entrepreneurs,
looking for more board members to join on,
more entrepreneurs to like really think about, like, take that just one idea. Someone could be in charge of, like, hey, Samantha's care package idea. Let's get it here. Let's figure out how to source all this stuff. Let's figure out how to, other places could buy these off of us, so we could raise money to buy more, right? Like, there's a whole business here.
It's just a whole business plan, and there's so much money to be made. And why not have the breast cancer patients making the money and using it to support other breast cancer patients.
Right? It's just a system.
Instead of a big CEO at a company sitting on all the hard cash. Every penny that comes to 412Thrive is put right back in our community. So,
well, that's what I love about you, right? Because your husband works. He's got a great job, right? Yeah. He's supporting you, but you're working harder than all of us, because I already know what it takes to be a mom, because I watch my wife, raise our baby, and it's like moms are the unsung heroes sometimes of like America, because it's like you have to do that, and you also have to be a great wife, right, to support the husband and his mission. And then now look at this, you got this big, huge mission. Like, it is such it's
larger than life.
Yeah, where you're turning your pain into purpose, and like that's the whole purpose, like the Big Fish Cares podcast. There's one thing that I, at the end of every episode, and this episode's been a little different from the other ones that I've done, but I always ask people 5 questions. All right. So pretend that everyone's obliterated on planet Earth. You're the only person left. Okay. And we stick you on an island. Okay. You have a small little island. Think Tom Hanks, right? In Castaway. You're allowed to take one book with you. What book are you taking with you?
Oh, man. That is a really hard one. Wow. I'm just like, I just like want to go with Harry Potter, because that's just like...
Which one?
I know, but I can't pick one, so I'm like...
Do they have the volume where you can like just buy
know, it's like, can the whole volume
we'll let you just duct tape them all together so you can take them with you.
But if it wasn't Harry Potter, right now my good friend Kara Sapida, she is a journalist for Channel 11 News. She is a breast cancer thriver, and
awesome.
She just released a book called Not the Breast Year of My Life.
Aww.
It's available on Amazon, so I got to read that a couple months ago. And that was just something that is just aligned perfectly with 412Thrive.
You can just keep reading it and get inspiration.
I told her, I was like, it's the best friend that people with breast cancer need, and so it's just perfect for.
That's awesome.
Thrivers.
What movie would you take with you?
Ooh,
these are the tough questions.
This is a really tough one. I'm gonna say Now and Then.
Now and Then. I'm not familiar with Now and Then.
That came out when I was young. Christina Ricci.
So is that a chick flick?
Yep.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. That's all right.
It's like a young chick flick.
All right. Now and Then. All right. Cool. All right. So I did book, movie. All right. So you need to eat. So you can put one restaurant. You can build a restaurant on this island. It could be like just any restaurant you want. What's a restaurant that you could go to time and time again you wouldn't get sick of, that you would love to have on this island with you?
Applebee's.
It's got to be Applebee's.
Like Applebee's or Eaton Park, but I'm going to go with Applebee's, those chicken wonton tacos.
Well, Eaton Park's too Yinzer. I mean, you are Yinzer. Eaton Park is the classic Yinzer
It
name.
is.
But
I didn't realize that Eaton Park was over
it.
here.
It's Pittsburgh, baby.
We have
now
family in Reading.
they've got some that went out east, but it was definitely started here back in like I think the 50s. All right, you're allowed to take one trip. You can go anywhere in the world. It could be somewhere you've been, or it could be somewhere where you aspire to have gone. But like, where do you want to go for a week?
South Africa.
Why South Africa?
I want to go on a safari. It used to be Australia, and I actually got to live in Australia for a year with my husband before we got married. And it's just, I want to go to South Africa.
So I have a vision for you. So I'm a visionary. So I have this vision that just popped in my head that you're going to grow 412Thrive. Okay. You're going to get a lot of people joining your mission. Right. And then there's going to be an opportunity, because I guarantee you there's breast cancer survivors in South Africa, and there's going to be an opportunity in your future to be able to like go to South Africa, kind of like on a business trip, but also to be able to serve those people of South Africa. And I'm sure while you're there, you might be able to see some lions and, tigers and some elephants.
I'm going to go home and make a vision board of this, I think.
There you go.
I want that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I guarantee there's a lot of people.
See the connections in my brain.
You're visionary. I already know you are.
ADHD is my superpower.
But you've been working so hard. Sometimes you got to come up for air and be able to breathe so you can see that. So that's what keeps you fueled up, because running a nonprofit, running a business, having to consistently ask people for money, having to get rejected, let down, right? All those things that we go through as business owners, it's so tough, but we're here to support you. Last question. You have 24 hours, okay? You can spend it with one person. What person do you want to spend it with? It could be somebody that you've always wanted to talk to. It could be somebody that you know currently. It could be somebody that you want to pick their brain. Any person, 24 hours, who's it going to be?
My pap. Definitely my pap.
Wow.
He helped raise me, so yeah, I miss him a lot.
Wow. And he's no longer here.
Yep, he passed away right before I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, okay. Wow. Whew. Samantha, it has been a pleasure. I know you have a gift for me. Let's talk about that real quick, because I think this is great. It's emotional baggage. It says...
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Like it could fit in here.
Like it could...
So that's actually the bag that we give our care packages in. Because, it's comical. We'll take them to the hospital with them. But, it's just...
That is
any
awesome.
Cancer diagnosis, any health issue.
Can people buy these?
Yeah, they're on our website.
And that's another way that people can raise money. Yep. You can raise money, right?
We have an amazing graphic designer, and I chicken scratch draw what my idea is, and he makes it look beautiful.
That is so awesome. I have a lot of people on my team that do that too, because I'm visionary with a lot of things, but I can't draw that well.
Exactly.
I can sketch a little bit, and it looks like chicken scratch.
Mine are stick figures.
That's so awesome. So here's what I want you guys to do. If you got value out of this podcast, if you just, I'm emotionally moved right now myself. Like, comment, subscribe, put questions, whether you're on YouTube or Apple or Spotify. If you got questions for Samantha, I know you'd be glad to answer them. We'll get those to her. If you guys need more information about how you can support 412Thrive, email me, message me. We'll get you in touch with the right people, because this is a great organization. And you guys are going to be hearing about this more often on the Big Fish Cares podcast, because this is really aligned with my mission of turning pain into purpose and using stories to be able to help people. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Big Fish Cares podcast.